Okay, so we are good to go. Good evening, everyone. This is Sharon Smoot with EXP, and I'm here with my business partner, Donell Henderson. And
Hello.
this is episode 10 of Realtor Life with Donell and Sharon.
All right. Awesome.
Woo! Can't believe that it has been 10 weeks. Oh my gosh.
I know. That's Time has flown, Sharon. We've had a lot of fun.
Yes, to both
A
of
lot of
those.
fun.
To
Yeah.
both of those. So I'm pulling this up on my phone just so that I can see if we have anyone who jumps on, who's participating and commenting.
All right.
So, oh, and let me turn the volume down. We decided that we wanted to do this podcast so that we can help other agents. We have been in this business collectively about 20 years, almost 20 years. And, every time we think we've seen it all, we realize that we have not seen it all.
We have not.
And so we thought that we would come together to share some information, some tips, some tricks, some education, you name it,
Yeah.
in the hopes that we would help other agents who might have questions, who might be struggling in their businesses, who maybe are not getting the support they need. And they're looking for a safe space where they can ask their questions and not feel judged.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
And not feel intimidated. We are not your typical gurus. We are real people, and we laugh. We admit when we make a mistake here or there. There aren't many, but on occasion we may have a faux pas, but we can admit it and learn from it and share with other agents. And hopefully these last 10 weeks have been valuable and fun to everyone, just as they have been to us. We really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only do we, we talk about some serious topics, but we also try to bring some levity to it. And sometimes because Donell is such a nice person, I actually might say a curse word every now and then.
Just ever so often. Again, we keep it real.
Yes. And tonight is going to be a really fun topic. We're going to try to educate you along the way. But tonight's topic is, can you believe blank happened when I was showing a house?
Yes.
So that blank can be some of everything. And I actually have one that didn't involve me. It was something that I heard on the news a number of years ago. And I thought about that this morning, and it is just going to blow your minds.
I can't wait.
So, hopefully you'll get a few laughs and you'll learn something along the way.
Absolutely.
So Donell, do you want to start or should I start?
I will start, and because this is literally hot off the presses.
Woo, hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses. This
still
happened.
Smoking, right?
It's still smoking. I don't know if it's a good smell or bad, but it's hot. So this literally just happened a few days ago. Today is Tuesday. This happened about 48 hours ago on Sunday.
Okay.
So I was at a showing a property to a client and her son. We had just arrived, and the previous agent was just finishing up her showing. So we weren't in any rush or anything. So we gave the agent a little bit of time, like 5-10 minutes, to finish up her showing. We waited outside patiently, and she came out. She gave me the key. I opened the lockbox with my super key, and we proceeded in to do the showing with my client. So far, nothing special. Everything's going great. It was a 3-level townhouse. We started in the basement, worked our way up to the 2nd level. and eventually worked our way up to the third level. While we were on the third level, we heard the door open. That's strange.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking it's probably an agent that either had the same time slot, because from time to time you'll have double, if not triple bookings in the same time slot.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Had you put the key inside the lockbox, or did you still have the key in your hand?
I typically keep the key with me.
Okay.
And that's just one of my own little things that I do to make sure I don't put it down somewhere and lose it. And just my process, I always, when I finish, reach in my pocket, put it back in the holder, put the holder back in the lockbox.
Okay. Then let me ask you one other question.
And I know
When
what it
you and
is,
your
but go
client
ahead.
entered the house,
Uh-huh.
obviously, if somebody walked in, you didn't lock the door. So why
I
didn't
knew
you lock the door?
I knew you were going to ask that, and it's just a bad habit. I haven't been, but a good friend of mine that's a realtor named Sharon Smoot has scolded me and educated me to the error of my ways from a safety standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try and incorporate that into my process. So I will lock the door when I go in. And it's a good point. It's a good practice.
And you're locking the door because who might be coming in?
Anybody.
The
A
killer.
The killer.
Yes.
The killer. We at least want to make the killer, have to go through a little bit extra, or preferably just leave. But yes,
Exactly. Don't make it
you
easy for them.
don't make it easy, like on the movies.
Right.
So yeah, and you're right, Sharon. That's definitely a practice. And we've talked about that in some previous episodes, that you should lock the door when you go in, because you don't know who's coming in. And to that point, Sharon, someone did come in. Luckily for me and the clients, it wasn't a killer, as far as we know.
Thankfully.
So the door opens and we're upstairs. So we look over, and the gentleman is a gentleman, and he's looking around. So we said upstairs. So he looks up, and I said, "May I help you?" He said, "Yes, I'm here to see the house." I said, "So you're not a realtor?" He said, "No, I'm not a realtor. I'm a client." I said, "Do you have a realtor?" He said, "No, I do not have a realtor." I said, "Well, sir," in the most polite way I could, "I am a realtor and I'm doing a private showing with my client for this time slot. I'm going to have to ask you to leave and make an appointment with a realtor of your choice to come and see the house, because I'm responsible for those that enter the house during this time slot." And Sharon, would you know, he was offended. He was really offended that I asked him to leave. So let me back up just a minute.
Uh-huh.
When I got there, of course, there was someone in the house doing a showing.
Okay.
This was actually the second showing, because I had come the day before and did a virtual showing for the same client. So I just came by myself and previewed the house. When I came the previous day, another lady just drove up by herself, not a realtor, and she asked, "Sir, may I come in and see the house?" And I said, as I always say, "Do you have a realtor?" "No, I do not." I said, "Well, ma'am, you're going to have a realtor, and I've got this time slot," which was the previous day. And she said, "No problem. May I look outside?" "Absolutely, you may look outside. You just can't come in." And then, surprisingly enough, Sharon, I actually did lock the door that time.
Uh-huh.
So, and that was even before, but the next day I didn't. So anyway, it had happened before. This lady was real gracious. She understood, no problem. But this particular gentleman on this day was offended that I asked him to step outside. And on his way out the door, he said, "That's no problem. I'll just remember who not to use when I do buy the house, because I don't need to buy this house. I already got a house.
Oh, Lord.
I said, it caught me off guard. So I just said, okay, sir, thank you very much. And we continued to do the showing. So the client is looking like, what in the world was that? And I said, we're not going to let that distract us. We're going to continue on with our showing. And let me show you the master bathroom. And aren't these drapes very nice, and so on and so forth. So we finished.
So, Donell, before you go on, I want to ask you a question. What's the big deal about letting some random person who says they want to view the house look at the house? What's the big deal?
There are a lot of deals. That's a good question, because clearly a lot of people don't know this. But when we as realtors open that door with our key, it's registered and it's logged in our name. So anybody that comes in is assumed to have come in with our permission. So we are responsible for anyone that comes into that house. And if that person comes in and vandalizes the house, steals something, gets hurt in the house, guess what? The first person they're going to look at is, who let the person in the house? The realtor. So we have a lot of responsibility and accountability as to who comes in, who we let into that house. Okay. And because we work for a broker, is the broker that is going to first be held accountable. But of course, they're going to then trickle it down to the source, which is the realtor. So it's important that we don't just let random people in, aside from the obvious fact that any random person that comes in may not be a real client, a person looking to purchase a house. They could, as you said, be a killer. Aside from that, though, we are responsible for our own personal safety and that safety of the clients that we're showing. Not to mention the house. It's just not good practice.
And this was an occupied home?
This was a vacant home.
Okay.
Home was vacant. But the home was priced at a point that it was getting a lot of showings. Again, when I got there was a showing going on. The previous day, there was another lady that wanted to just see the inside of the house. And I understand that people want to see, okay,
right,
what's the deal? What's going on? It could be a neighbor in the neighborhood, but you don't know that. So you don't want to take a chance to just let someone in the house. Okay. And had there been an issue, if the gentleman had not wanted to leave, what would I have done? Again, because I don't know this person, personally, I would have called 911.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Did you have your gun?
I did.
Would you have pulled it out?
I would have tried to avoid that if possible.
Okay, because when you pull it out, you got to be prepared to use it.
You hope that it's a deterrent, but if it is not, you got to be prepared to pull the trigger. That's why you bought it.
Okay.
So yes, I still would have called 911, but you know, the thing you don't want to do is put yourself make a bad situation worse.
Right, right.
And ultimately, it's the authorities call, and you know, obviously, you give them all the pertinent information. I'm a realtor, a licensed realtor, doing an official showing. I'm supposed to be here with my client. We've got another person that has entered the home uninvited. We've asked them to leave.
Unauthorized.
Unauthorized. He has declined to leave and is now becoming belligerent. And you know, you say those three words.
And I feel threatened.
I feel threatened, or I fear for my life.
Yes.
Those phrases usually will get the police to that location quick, fast, in a hurry. Now, you could also, you know, say the phrase, I've got a gun and I intend to use it if you don't get here soon, but that may get them there too quick and you may end up being, you know, part of the problem, which you don't want to be.
Yeah.
So you don't have to put that last part in there. I think I fear for my life, or, you know, I feel threatened, should be enough. And at that point, actually, if you ask someone to leave and they don't, you actually should feel a little threatened, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
So
anyway,
Donell,
mhm,
tell me, let's move on because I want to hear the rest of this story. So
okay.
after he said, whatever he said about how he was being treated, what happened next?
So he left. Okay, thank goodness he did leave. So we proceeded with the showing. We finished the showing. I took the key out of my pocket, my normal process that I'm going to change, put it back in the lockbox holder, put the holder back in the lockbox, close the door, and we were outside talking
Uh-huh.
about what we had seen, not the person, but the house. Our primary reason for being there.
Right, right.
So we were there for maybe about 5 minutes outside talking. And guess what happened, Sharon? The same
He showed
gentleman,
up again.
he starts walking down the street towards us. So now I'm thinking, okay, now what's going to happen here? Now I wasn't afraid or anything because we're
Hmm.
outside. It's sunny. It's three of us. One of him was actually 3.5 because I had my Smith, friends Smith and Wesson,
Uh-huh.
or their
Uh-huh.
cousins thereof. But I'm just curious what is going to happen. So I waited, and he walked up. He didn't walk right up to me. He was about 20 feet from me, and he said, "Are you finished with the showing?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "So I can go in now?" I said, "If you have a realtor and you can get in, you most certainly can." He said, "Okay, okay, great, great. Just so you know, I called Zillow and told them about the treatment that I had. And he didn't say, I want you to know that, but he definitely said, I just called Zillow and let them know about the treatment that I had." I said,
Okay,
"Oh,
so
okay, great, great. I thank you."
was
And
this
I
a
left it at
Zillow
that.
listing?
What was that, Sharon?
Was it a Zillow listing?
It was not. And
Oh
your
my
next question
goodness.
probably should be, Sharon, do you work for Zillow? I do not. So I know everyone watching this is going to say, well, why did he call Zillow? I have no idea.
Because
But
that's
to
where he
him,
saw the listing.
he probably saw the listing on Zillow
Yep.
and assumed Zillow owned the listing. And he was going to complain to Zillow that he had been mistreated and not given full, unauthorized, unvetted access to see this house because he felt that he was privileged, even though I didn't know who he was, to just see the house when he wanted to see the house. And I denied him, even though I'm just doing my job as a realtor.
Right, right.
But I just thought it was very interesting that he made a point to walk down the street and let me know.
Oh, and he thought you were going to be quaking in your boots. And Donell, I know that ever since that encounter, you've just been waiting with bated breath for
I
Zillow to
can
call you and get you
barely
straight, right?
contain myself. I am very scared right about now, Sharon. Not. I mean, for all practical purposes, Sharon, he could have said, he could have taken, I call Zillow out and just said, just so you know, I call McDonald's and I let them know about my service. Great, sir. I'm thankful. I hope you get a large
Oh,
supersized
Lord.
fry.
Oh, good
And
God.
Sharon, I'm going to yield the floor to you because I've taken too much time. But I
Well,
just
you know
thought,
what?
like you said, guess what happened when I went to a showing, and that's literally hot off the presses. So
See, you have me over here laughing so hard. I'm about to cry. I'm laughing so hard. Oh,
it's
my
it,
goodness.
well, my client
Well,
looked at me, and when he walked away, she said, "So why did he make mention of Zillow?" I said, "I have no earthly idea.
oh, God.
Maybe he just felt the need to tell me that he called Zillow." We're on a Zoom presentation, Sharon. He could have called Zoom,
He could have called Zoom. He
or
could have called the White House. I mean, he could have called
he could
Home
have
Depot. I mean,
he could have called his mom. And I mean, we're making light of it, but bless his heart. And sometimes it's best not to say anything because I've got close friends that are realtors. that have been in the business for years, and they would probably have said a little bit more. And I'm not going to call them out or mention names. I mean, some of them may be on this podcast, but I'm not mentioning names. But I know some of my close realtor friends would have said a little bit more. But here's an example where sometimes you don't have to say anything. You just let people meet people where they are. And I just wanted to let him know. And if I see him again, he may tell me that he called Texaco Gas. Great, sir. You call whoever you need to call. But Sharon, that was my most recent experience at a showing that I was not expecting. And it ended up being funny. But at the end of the day, there were some things that I learned. One, be prepared for anything. And you should lock the door when you go into the showing so that he or anyone else can't come in the showing. And again, from an overall perspective, don't just let random people in. Even if they say, I'm a neighbor, I just want to see if the floor plan is like mine, or, I'll only be 2 minutes. Right. Once the person's in, I think there's a saying, possession is 9/10 of the law. Once they're in, it could be hard getting them out.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're now you've taken ownership and accountability and responsibility for that person. So.
That's true. Well, Donell, I have to say that your story is going to be really hard to follow because mine is not even remotely funny. But a number of years ago, I'm going to say maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago, I was showing a house in Stone Mountain. And when we got there was a car in the driveway. This was a corner lot. It sat across the street from an elementary school. And I knew that the home was occupied. We had scheduled an appointment to view the house. And whenever I know the home is occupied, as soon as I open that door, the first thing that I do is scream out the name of my brokerage. So I was with a different brokerage at that time, but I said, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And I say it loudly, no response. So we look around downstairs, we're talking, we're critiquing the house, everything's, good. The house was kind of junky, just kind of cluttered, unkept.
Right. We
go upstairs and we're looking around, and I tend to like to look at the master bedroom last.
Okay.
So we look at the secondary bedrooms up there, turn to go into the master bedroom. Why is there someone asleep in the master bedroom?
Oh my goodness.
And middle of the day, but curtains drawn, so the room was kind of dark. And at first I wasn't even sure anybody was in there, but I'm like, wait a second, I think I hear snoring.
Yeah.
And this person was in the bed, and it was just so creepy and discomforting to me that we were in this person's house walking around like that, and they had no idea. That we were in there.
Yeah.
And so, my clients were still looking around, and I was like, come on, let's go. I said, this makes me feel very uncomfortable. And then, some people are strange, I'll say.
That's a good word.
They are surprised out of their sleep, and you never know how they might react, whether they keep a gun under the pillow or on the nightstand, in the nightstand drawer, whatever.
Absolutely.
And somebody's walking around in their house, you don't know how they might respond.
That is very true.
So, one of the things that I learned about that is that whenever you have a listing that is occupied, whether it's owner occupied or tenant occupied, it is so important to emphasize to those people that when they know someone is coming to look at the house, they need to be awake. Preferably they need not be there, but if they have to be there, they need to be awake.
Absolutely. No question about it.
It's just so discomforting. And I don't even know if it was a man or a woman in the bed because they had the covers pulled all the way up, so I couldn't tell who it was, but I was like, oh my God, this is just so unsettling. And then I know how I am, Donell. I am a super duper light sleeper.
Same
So
here.
there's no way that anybody would have made it all the way upstairs and I didn't know they were in the house. And then I'm
Really?
also very, even when I'm asleep, I'm
Yeah,
very in tune to the energy of the
right.
house.
Absolutely.
So if someone comes home, I know that they're home, even if I don't come all the way away. I know
Sure.
that someone has entered the house. So there is
Something
no way that
changed. Yeah.
anybody would have gotten up to my bedroom and I didn't know they were in this house.
Well, Sharon, so and in some cases, people know that you're coming, but they just choose not to get out of the bed. And they just pull the covers over their head. And I, because I've seen instances where the person will say, well, someone's upstairs sleeping in the
Right, right.
secondary bedroom or the master bedroom. Okay, thanks for the heads up. But the person, if then and you can't expect everyone to get up. But in that case, they know, okay, that's fine. And then if that be the case, we'll just peek in. We won't go all the way in the
Exactly.
room out of respect for the person that's trying to sleep. Okay. But to be actually snoring, that's not light sleeping. That is,
I mean,
I'm
dead to the
knocked out
world.
to the
Yep.
world. That is very scary. That is very scary, Sharon. Wow. Yeah, that's not funny, but it's definitely odd to
Yeah.
have someone. Well, and first of all, even if you just back it up, it's odd, it's uncomfortable to have someone in the house when you're trying to do a showing. And
Absolutely.
just
And
about
even if
most of
they
the
make
clients that I've,
themselves scarce, it's still
right,
weird to have them there.
absolutely. And most of the clients that I've shown have said, normally we might do 30 minutes for the showing. If someone's there, most of the time the clients are like, they'll just take a quick glance. Okay, I've seen enough. Okay, we can go out, because they don't feel comfortable.
Right.
You're in someone else's house. Um, and when you mentioned that, you made this was an investor property, and similar to yours, the house was a bit cluttered, and no one told us that there was someone in the room. So you just got stuff all over the place, just short of being a hoarder.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, I mean, there was stuff all over the place. It wasn't just cluttered, it was a mess. And I remember opening the door, and this one room just had stuff all over the place. We looked around, we went into the next room, again, stuff all over the place. We went into the third room, stuff's all over the place. But the difference in this room was the TV was on.
Uh-huh.
And we weren't expecting anyone to be there. And Sharon, don't you know, there was a person not on the bed, but on the other side of the bed, laying down, watching TV. And they heard us. I mean, they heard us walking through, talking, and they did
Uh-huh.
not move. Even when we came in the room, they just,
Was it a teenager?
it was a teenager. Yes. So to your point, I do that too. I make hello, hello. I say it, 3 times. I'm about to enter, because you just want people to know, and don't be startled or afraid that we're going to do a showing.
Right.
But yeah, it's strange things can happen. So, not to dominate, but I do want to bring this one up. I'm
Okay.
sure this has happened to you, but to me, more scary than the person being in the room is when the neighbor sees you drive up to a house, you open the lockbox door. I had one situation, drive up to the house, lady is standing, her neighbor is, next door neighbor is standing outside on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And she watches me get out of my car, and I spoke, hello, how are you? And she just kind of looked at me like, I'm like, okay, here we go.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be interesting. So she stood there and watched me walk up to the door, open the door with the lockbox key, go in the house. The client drove up and they came in. They didn't speak to her and she didn't speak to them, but they made a comment to me of what's up with the neighbor. I said, we can't worry about the neighbor. We're here to see this house, and we're going to continue. We have a right to be here. So when we came out, she was still standing there, just staring at us. And that, you know, someone just stares at you and doesn't say anything, that gives you an uneasy feeling as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't, and she had dogs in her yard. So anytime you have a dog, and the dogs were not on a leash, they were just kind of roaming around.
Uh-huh. Now, were these cute little dogs like Buddy, or were they vicious beasts like Lexi?
These were Lexi on steroids. and unlike Lexi, that you wash and do her nails and take her to the vet, these dogs did not. They weren't.
Oh, these were some junkyard dogs.
These were junkyard dogs. That's a good term. Yes, they were scary looking dogs. And at that time, I did not have my weapon on me. So it was a situation where I just felt uncomfortable. The client felt uncomfortable. And occasionally you'll, you know, go to a neighborhood where you just feel a little uneasy. But now I do have my weapon ready should anything, as they say, pop off. And again, that's the last thing that you want, is because you don't want to be involved in it, even if you're in the right.
Right.
You know.
So Donell, did she do anything, try to come in the house or anything like that?
Nope. As far as I know, she may still be standing out there, but she did not move. She was like a statue. Just standing there looking.
Well, you know, that reminds me, and I wasn't even going to talk about this tonight, but this reminds me of a situation that I had. And, you know, for whatever reason, where I was always sticks in my head. So I was in Smyrna.
Okay.
And I remember this was before I got my Juke, and my other car wasn't working. I guess it was in the shop or whatever. So I was in my mom's Maxima. And I got to the house a little bit early because, you know, I miss punctuality. And I'm just sitting there talking on the phone, waiting for my client to show up. And it was cold, so I had the windows up. And out the corner of my eye, I see movement. And so I look over, and it's this older white gentleman. And so I just roll the window down a crack. And he says, of all things, may I help you, young lady? And I should have been saying that to him because he approached my vehicle.
Right.
May I help you, young lady? And I said, no. And he says, well, I figured you might be lost. And I said, no, I'm not lost. I'm waiting for my client so that I can show him this house. And so he went on about his business. But Donell, you know, I was hot as fire. I was hot as fire.
Right.
And I was talking to my new love interest on the phone.
Okay.
And, you know, I had been on my best behavior up until that point. So I don't even know that I had ever said a curse word, you know, or anything like that. Because, you know, I'm just such a sweet person.
You are a lady.
But I was hot as fire. So that was the first time that he ever heard me lose my mind.
He had to be a new love interest. Because, and I'll just say this, and most people watching this know, Sharon and I are the producers, executive producers for this podcast. We have not been able to hire censors for our podcast to bleep out certain things. So this is real live raw. So continue with your story, Sharon.
So I used some of my fanciest vocabulary words. And like I said, I lost my mind. I was hot as fire. I was so offended.
I understand.
And honestly, you know, the way I think of situations like that is that if he thought that I shouldn't be there for whatever reason, he should have called the police.
Correct.
He had no right to approach my vehicle and ask me anything because I don't
Correct.
have to give him any explanations as to why I am where I am.
Correct.
And when I told one of my good friends who is a realtor about this, one of the things that she said to me was, you should have immediately called 911 and
Mhm,
told them that you were being threatened. She said, because the
mhm,
very fact that he approached your vehicle thinking that he had a right to ask you anything, that was
mhm.
a threat to you. You don't know
Absolutely.
him, you don't know what his
Absolutely.
intentions were, and you should have called 911.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And if you look at in today's world, interchange you with me. Now I've got a weapon, license to carry.
Hmm. But
Now
that
I don't
doesn't
know
always
you.
mean anything.
Hmm,
That doesn't always mean anything to the police.
that is true, which is why I go back to you don't want to make a bad situation worse. Sometimes, I
Right.
mean, while you have it there to protect you and your client, it could backfire because once a police officer comes in that doesn't know who's supposed to be here and who doesn't, sometimes emotions may take over and they may act before getting all the information. But the point I'm trying to make is suppose he, if I'm startled, I don't know him, he doesn't know me. More importantly,
Right.
you
Right.
don't know me, I don't know you. So why are you approaching me? Don't
Right.
take the law into your own hands. Call the authorities if you feel threatened or whatever.
If somebody looks suspicious, like if somebody's in my neighborhood and they look suspicious, I'm not approaching them.
Why would you?
And
Right.
maybe he felt comfortable doing it because I was a woman, but he doesn't know if I'm a nut, you
The
know?
prison
And
has a lot of women in the ladies' prison.
right, right.
So you could have been a killer.
I could have been the killer. I could have been the next, what was that lady's name? Elaine Warnock?
Mm-hmm.
What was her
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
That
I know
serial
who you're
killer
talking about.
lady? Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't know that. It's just unfortunate that people will just kind of take the vigilante approach as though they're empowered and you're not. No
Yeah.
one is.
Yeah.
So, well, thankfully, two things. Thankfully, you were safe and, that situation ended well. And more importantly, I got to say hats off to you. You use self-restraint and you let your new friend hear some unsavory words for the first
Mhm.
time, but you let him hear it as opposed to telling this gentleman directly face to face.
Yeah. Yeah. And potentially escalating it into something that it
Exactly.
didn't need to be.
Right. Right.
And probably the only thing I did wrong was even rolling my window down
I
the
was going
track.
to mention that. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should have just said, "Mm-mm, get away from me."
Yeah. Give him the hand.
Yeah,
Stop.
yeah,
Stranger danger. Stranger danger.
right. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson. Well, I do have another one. Do you have
Okay.
another one?
No, no, no.
So
Go ahead.
this is the one that I heard on the news a few years ago.
Okay.
And this is really an object lesson for us every time we enter someone's house. And especially these days, because people have security cameras and what have you. But
Mm-hmm.
this involved a nanny cam.
Okay.
And apparently, the listing agent went to this house that he had listed,
Mm-hmm.
and he had his woman, his mistress, I'll say, with him. And they proceeded to go into the master bedroom
Mm-hmm.
and have sex in these
Mm-hmm.
people's bed.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to them, there was a nanny cam in the bedroom.
That's
These
ugly.
people not only had sex in the people's house, they took a shower.
What?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my goodness.
And I think if I'm remembering correctly, they even ate some food.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, but all of this was captured on the nanny cam.
That's
And needless to
messy.
say, the owners were furious.
Uh-huh. I'm sure.
And so,
And
you know, it's just really important when you go into someone's house that you understand that they
wow,
might be watching you.
Sharon, I actually expect that.
Yes.
And in today's world of technology, I go in with the assumption that there's a camera somewhere on these premises.
They're watching and they're
Yeah,
listening.
absolutely, absolutely. So, needless to say, the seller was upset, but I would also wager that that agent may no longer be an agent or had to pay at a minimum a fine.
Yeah,
At a minimum.
I don't remember all the details of the news story and what the consequences were for
That's just
him, but
that's
you know,
just too
he
much.
obviously
Come
he
on.
was in trouble with his broker for sure.
Yes, definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
probably got fired from the broker because, you know, that's your reputation. That's the broker's reputation.
Absolutely. That's they went all in, Sharon. I mean, that's just too much. That's too
And
much.
so inappropriate and
So inappropriate.
unprofessional and
Yeah.
just gross
That's
for
gross.
so
I was gonna
many
say that's fuck.
reasons.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
You know
goodness.
what? Honestly, Donell, I don't even like to use the bathroom when I'm showing a house.
Right.
And it always just irks me just a little bit when a client asks, can I use the bathroom? And it's
Right.
like, why couldn't we have stopped at McDonald's or someplace and you
Exactly.
use the public restroom instead of using, and I've been in houses before where the water was turned off
Yes.
and without asking first, and it's usually a man, has gone and used the bathroom and there's no water. And
Mm. Yeah.
you know, and that's another thing. When you walk into a house and there is some stale, rancid urine that is just reeking.
No matter how good the house looks, that automatically is a deterrent right up front.
Yes, yes.
That's that is definitely not good. I agree. I try to uh shun clients from using the restroom in someone else's house, especially now with COVID.
Oh
Uh
God, yeah.
yeah, I mean that's just and I think when people entrust you with, you know, a showing in their home, their personal home, especially if it's occupied, I think that, you know, go through the proper precautions and just respect people's, this is where someone lives.
Yeah.
And you don't know what their situation is. They could have an underlying condition. It's just not a good practice. We want to be as minimalistic as possible when we go in here. And I know this is not the episode. We will do another one. But have Sharon, I'm going to ask you the question and let you take the lead. Have you ever had a situation, and we've got a realtor friend on her very first showing, she had this happen, but have you ever had a situation where you're doing a showing and you expect one client and then they bring the brother, the sister, the mother-in-law, the dog, the cat, and the fish? Have you ever had a situation where there were more people that showed up than you were expecting?
I have. I have. And yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying. You know, when COVID started, I would tell all my clients, don't bring any stragglers,
Mm-hmm.
you know, only decision makers.
Right.
Don't bring your friend, your mama, you know, whatever. And I even had a situation a couple years ago, and ultimately this couple didn't buy a house because the loan didn't get approved.
Mm-hmm.
But they brought their dog, and it was hot, it was summer. And so they brought the dog inside the house, and it was a vacant house. And the dog, and you know, Donell, I am a dog person.
Oh, absolutely.
The
Yeah.
dog was as cute as it could be, like a little Maltese,
Okay.
really cute.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, don't put that dog down. You know, because they were putting the dog down to run around. And no, don't put that dog down. Oh, it'll be okay. You know, he or she is housebroken. And I'm like, don't put the dog down.
That's not the point.
Right.
First
And
of all,
then
you should, unless it's a a dog that you have to have for health reasons, you shouldn't have the dog in the house to begin with. But
Right.
what that to me, Sharon, and I'll let you get back to your story, but to me, that's like if you're running and jogging in your neighborhood and a person has a dog that's not on a leash, and the dog runs up to you and they say, "Oh, don't worry, he won't bite." Well, the dog may not have seen a black person in the last 2 years and say, "You look like a steak to me." So I'm going to actually, I don't usually bite people, but I'm actually going to bite you. You look tasty.
Right. Right.
Now, so my thing is, if you bring a pet, a dog or cat into a house, the pet, you don't know what the pet's thinking, the dog's thinking. The dog might think, well, these are nice shiny floors. I think I'm gonna cop a squat right here.
Well, and especially male dogs, because they like to mark their territory. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
but I had a showing a few months ago, very first time I went out with this lady. And we had maybe three houses to look at in the Ellenwood, Decatur area. And so we looked at the first house, and it's a schedule. We looking at this one at 1. We'll
Right.
be here, for 15, 20 minutes. It's going to take
Sure.
us 10 minutes to get to the next one,
Sure.
and I have it all, timed out and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, well, we have looked at everything. And she's like, well, my mom says she's right around the corner. Can we wait for her? And I'm like, okay, I didn't know that your mom was coming.
Right.
And I would have told her, it's COVID. Can nobody else come? But
Right.
mama's on her way. So what could I say?
Right.
So the mother gets there. She's looking around. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to get on to the next house.
Mm-hmm.
Our appointment is at whatever time. And she's like, oh, well, my daughter and my niece just pulled up. And, she's steady on her phone texting.
Oh my goodness.
And so she's like, can they just come in and look around right quick?
Oh my goodness.
I know. I was so mad. I was so mad. So the daughter comes in. And then maybe 2 minutes later, here comes the niece. And she got a pet carrier. And mind you, this was at the beginning of the summer. It was 90 degrees.
Right.
She has a pet carrier with a cute little puppy in it.
Uh-huh.
And she kept him in the carrier the whole time. And I understand why she didn't leave him in the car. But
sure,
you knew you were coming to look at this house. I didn't know you were coming, but you knew you were coming.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you leave the dog at home?
Exactly.
But to answer your question, I try to counsel people, to only bring the decision makers.
Right.
And, whether pre-COVID or post-COVID, but particularly post-COVID. And, one reason is that I don't want to have to be trying to keep up with 3 or 4 different people roaming around a house.
Exactly.
And especially early on in the relationship, because I don't know you. I don't know, honestly, that you can be trusted.
It's true.
That's
absolutely true. I was listening to your I'm going to let you keep going, but one of the things we've talked about, safety is a big thing that we have a little tidbit about safety in every episode that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But especially on the very first time that you meet someone, you don't know this person, and you don't know if they have good intentions or if this is just a farce to get you into a house.
Right.
And now you're outnumbered.
Right.
Because you were expecting one person. Now you have 2 people, or in your case, 5 people with a dog. Now what? And again, you just may have the dog that hadn't seen black people and you look like a steak. And these are cannibals. I mean, I know that's we're going off topic. But my point is, you don't know people. And you are still responsible as the agent who opened that door. And many times the listing will say, decision maker, agent and decision maker only.
Right.
And now you got in a situation where you got the decision maker and their parents and their sister and the cousin and dog or the puppy, and we can't leave the puppy outside because it's 90 degrees. And my grandmother, she's 90, so she wants to see the house. And now you're in a situation where you've lost control.
Yeah.
And once you lose control, it's very hard to get control back. And sometimes, Sharon, you have to end the relationship before we even get started.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what, Donell? This we can segue into another topic. Like when you have non-decision makers who are coming to the showings,
Yes.
sometimes they are exercising undue influence over the person.
Correct.
And, yeah, this might be your best friend or this might be your cousin, but sometimes it becomes apparent to me that they don't have your best interests at heart.
They don't know what
Because
they're talking about.
yes, putting in 2 cents when they don't have, but a half a cent.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly. That's
and they're
exactly
not going to have any skin in the game because they're not buying the house, but
right.
they're steady giving their opinion. And when I bought my house or when my mama bought her house or whatever, and it's like, just let this person go through the process and make their decision. And if you want to put your 2 cents in, do it on your own time. Don't waste my time.
Thank you.
And they do so much to discourage the person.
They inject doubt. I mean, the person may love the house.
Incorrect
and I remember
information.
Yeah, absolutely. You got incorrect information. You're talking about a townhouse versus a single family home. You're talking about a farm versus land. You're talking about a situation that you don't know all the facts, and you are not a realtor.
Or it's been 20 years since you bought a house.
Thank you. I wouldn't pay this. I wouldn't pay $200,000 for this house.
Right.
In Atlanta, you and I have had this conversation many times. It's going to be very difficult at 200,000 or less to find a very nice home. You're definitely not going to find a 5-bedroom, acre lot, all that, finished basement for 200,000. My point is that stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And as a realtor, we're in a tough position because you don't want to go off on someone's family member or friend when you're still trying to establish a relationship with this client on the first meeting.
Right.
But you do have to set boundaries.
Right.
Because if you don't set boundaries, people will just kind of take control. And again, once you lose control with your time or with the showing, and all this really is kind of about showings, what happened on my showing, but it's showings related.
Yeah.
And I know our time is getting short, but I know when it comes to the time, do you do showings? Suppose you have a client that says, Sharon, I was on Zillow again, and I found a house and it looks like it is perfect. Sharon, can you take me to see this house in the next 10 minutes? What would your response be?
No.
No problem, Sharon. I know 10 minutes is too short. What about an hour?
Donell, I generally do not do same day appointments.
Right.
And, I just have some personal obligations. You know what my situation is here at home.
Sure.
And so it is just not realistic for me to drop whatever it is that I'm doing to go show a house. That just.
And that's the point I'm trying to make.
I tell my clients up front that I work on a schedule.
Right.
And so you can get on my calendar and I will set that block of time aside for you on this particular day and that particular day. And I won't schedule anything else.
Right.
That
way I can service you and only you properly. But the other side of the coin, because, I have done, I will go as far as I can go, but sometimes it's not even about us, Sharon. Sometimes the seller, the owner, will require minimum 2-hour notice
Right.
or 24-hour notice. I've
Right.
seen quite a few 24-hour notice. And I think just because there's an emergency on one person's part, i.e. our client, the buyer's part, doesn't mean that the seller is desperate, especially in this market. The seller has the right. And I just think, even if it wasn't a seller's market, you should just think, if someone wanted to come over to your house in the next 5 minutes, you haven't had time to clean. You may have just
You
gotten
might
off
be in the
work,
middle of making dinner.
dinner,
Maybe you have
the
a sick
kids might be
child at
studying.
home.
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
have some respect.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah. And you know what? And I've had clients fire me, because they think that I'm supposed to jump up at the drop of a hat.
We
And
all have. Yeah,
I think that it's really important early on to set that expectation
absolutely.
that you will not be jumping up at the drop of a hat. And you know what? Some agents are fine with that,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not me, because
Right.
like when I go to bed tonight, I know I don't have any showing scheduled for tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to be able to do this. I need to go pick up Lexi's phenobarbital,
Mm-hmm.
so I have things already scheduled out for
Sure.
my day tomorrow.
Sure.
So, it's just not feasible if somebody calls me at, 12 and says, can I see this house at 12:30? No.
Right. Right. Or to flip, it wouldn't be fair for us to find a listing that we think would be good for our client and say, I went ahead and made a showing for us at 1 o'clock in the evening. And the person, you haven't checked with the person may be at
To see what
work.
their schedule is.
You got to see what this person's
Yeah.
schedule is.
Yeah.
So it works both ways. But again, as realtors, we have to set expectations up front.
Yeah.
And lead the client and just use some common sense. Otherwise, you may have that client from hell that is just gonna set this. If either you take control or the client's gonna take control of you.
Exactly. I have one more that's really quick. This is one that I got from one of my Facebook groups.
Okay.
And the listing agent had listed the house of a good friend of hers. And she said that a selling agent called her, a buyer's agent called her and said, I'm not so sure that your client is ready to sell the house. And so the listing agent was like, what is the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, my client and I came to the house, and she said, your client was there.
Mm-hmm.
She says she followed us all over the house so that we, could not even look at the house and, discuss the house comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time we touched anything, if we opened a closet, whatever, she just got more and more freaked out, to the point that before we left, she was crying hysterically and saying that we were touching all of her things.
Oh my goodness.
And I just couldn't even imagine having to deal with that. So the listing agent's question was, do you think I should just terminate the listing, or, try to talk her off the ledge or what?
Mm-hmm.
But that would just be so uncomfortable, and I've certainly been in situations where someone has followed me around the house when I'm showing it.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in situations where there was no lockbox, so the seller had to be there to let us in.
Sure.
And they have basically given us a tour,
Mm-hmm.
Rather than allowing us to just look at the house. They want to tell us about, this upgrade or that upgrade, and, the history of the neighborhood, and,
Mm-hmm.
all that. And it kind of, I think, detracts from the showing experience.
No question about it.
Because you and your client don't have an opportunity to just look at the house and discuss it. But sometimes you can get some good information, and sometimes the seller will reveal things that, he shouldn't reveal. He or
Right,
she shouldn't reveal. But
right,
because I've
right.
actually had a seller tell me, oh yeah, we got an offer and it was X number of dollars. And so I was like, okay, client, if you
Thank
want
you.
this house, you know, got to be competitive.
Right. You got to take the information if it's given to you freely,
Yes.
just take it,
Yes.
you know. But that is that is very interesting.
Yeah. And so, you know, when I have an owner occupied house, and especially in a situation where they don't want a lockbox,
Hmm.
you know, I always tell them, you know, just step outside, you know, step out onto the
Right.
patio or go sit in your car, you know, and just
Hmm.
let the agent show the house in peace,
Hmm.
you know, and without you tagging along behind them.
Yeah, because you could be uh, putting undue stress on a very good offer,
Yeah.
possibly your best offer, but
Yeah.
they feel intimidated and they say, no, we're going to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
So
And like
just
with this
let people do their job.
situation, the listing agent said that the buyer's agent said, you know, my client really likes the house,
Hmm.
but she is extremely hesitant to make an offer
Hmm.
because that behavior is an indicator of what it will be like to have the
Sure.
home inspected, to have the
Yep.
home appraised.
Right.
And, you know, she's
Final
afraid
walkthrough.
that, yeah, she's afraid that this lady might, you know, flake and back
Hmm.
out of the deal after she's expended money on an inspection and an appraisal.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so just a real precarious
Yeah.
situation.
Very, very strange. And I've got one more really quick that I want to
Okay.
bring up. And I don't remember who, someone told me that it may have been you in the last 48 to 72 hours, but this was actually on the new construction. And we were talking about bringing extra people and all that. The builder had a policy that only the person whose name was going to be on the contract could come and preview the house and see the house. And after you
Uh-huh.
were on under contract, even the buyer could not come. Oh, that's what it was. It was new construction. So as the house was being built, you know how people will go to the construction site and walk
Right.
through at each stage. You cannot do that with this particular builder. They do not allow you on the premises to even see your own house being built. When it's time for the final walkthrough, you have to you can't bring, like, you know, your mother or somebody like
Right.
that to the
Right.
final walkthrough.
Right.
They basically keep you offsite until the final walkthrough. That's it. Now your agent can come. The agent can
Hmm.
definitely come and kind of give you a status. And I thought that's pretty strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were, you know, as we were talking about, I think they have overcorrected in the situation.
Yeah.
Definitely, you don't want
There,
extraneous
I bet
people.
you somebody got hurt
That's
and
what I
they
was
got
thinking too.
sued.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So they're going all the way to the left now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but good topic.
Yep. Yep. Good topic, fun topic.
Yep.
So we like to wrap it up by just inviting any agents out there who are new to the business, just got your license, uh, in the business for years, and you're looking for a change to consider EXP. We have some amazing things going on at EXP. We are an international company, 59,000 plus agents strong.
And
Donell, I
growing
think
every
in the
day.
newsletter last week, I saw that 1,000 agents had joined EXP in September. I think that's what
Wow.
I read.
Wow.
You know, but a growing company, an innovative, cutting edge company.
Hmm.
Guys, when COVID came into our lives, EXP didn't have to pivot. It is already a virtual company. So while other
Already positioned.
brokerages were scrambling, trying to figure out how they were going to keep things up and running,
Hmm.
EXP didn't lose a beat, didn't miss a beat
Nope.
because it is already virtual. And we have so many other compelling and appealing benefits. And I'm going to let Donell tell you a little bit about that?
Sure. EXP is just wonderful and we can't name all of them, but I'll just hit some of the major ones. One, revenue share. The company and that's a big one. That's what attracted me, the revenue share, in that it's revenue versus profit. So whether the company makes a profit or not, the company is definitely going to generate revenue. And as a give back, the company pays its own employees, its own agents, I should say, for helping to grow the company. Okay. And basically everyone starts out at an 80-20, regardless of experience. That 20% is what the company uses to give back and put into a pot that helps their other agents. Okay. That's just one thing. But again, because you're helping the company to grow, the company, you have the ability to own your own company, i.e. stock. So there's a publicly traded company, and the stock has been doing very well over the last 12 to 18 months. We have split at least once, I know, which indicates that stock is doing very well. Another one, healthcare benefits. I don't know of another company, another real estate company, Sharon, that offers its agents healthcare benefits. EXP does.
I'm not aware of that.
Absolutely. So these are just a couple of the things. You're able to build a team without having to grow that team locally like you would from a brokerage. You have the ability to gain the benefits of being a broker without actually being a broker, meaning you can have agents on your team locally, nationally, or internationally. Speaking of internationally, we are licensed to sell real estate and do transactions in 17 countries, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah.
And we can't name all 17, but they're your typical big ones: Spain, Brazil, Italy,
Mexico,
too many to name.
Canada, South
Canada,
Africa, Great Britain,
absolutely,
Australia.
Yeah. So basically anywhere in the world. And our team we're actually growing our team here locally and nationally. We've got some business partners that are looking to partner with us, some agents across the country. And we just want to give a shout out to all the agents that have joined our team already. Thank you for trusting us and believing in us and helping us to grow something special.
Absolutely.
So again, great company, technology-based company. When COVID hit, as Sharon said, we didn't have to figure out how to use Zoom and do remote and all that. That's literally what was there day one. And the company is growing every day, every month, because this is something special.
And Donell, the other thing that I don't think that we have ever touched on in the previous 9 episodes is that EXP really gives us the freedom to brand ourselves.
Absolutely.
And with so many other brokerages, and it was certainly my experience with my other brokerage, and honestly, this is not a complaint, it's just an observation. They provided us with a lot of tools, but all of the tools were about the brokerage. And I know that I was probably a good 12 years in before I realized, thanks to some training from a couple of mentors who had been in the business for ages, that I could brand myself. And
we should.
You know, my old brokerage did not encourage us to, they didn't discourage us from branding ourselves, but they didn't encourage us to brand ourselves. And although I have never heard anyone, any of the powers that be at EXP saying, brand yourself, brand yourself, brand yourself, just the way things are set up, I just feel like there is more opportunity. And it's like, even though it's not specifically said, go out and brand yourself, just the way that, you're able to, uh, for instance, design your business cards, design your signs,
Mhm.
and they tell you if you design your own thing, you just have to get it approved.
That's all.
That's
But if
all.
but if it meets the company criteria and standards, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I just really like that, because it gives you an opportunity to establish who you are as a
Mhm.
realtor.
Sure. And it's just having that flexibility, having options.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think some people are gonna wanna go 90 miles an hour, and some people are gonna wanna go 55. You are literally in control of your business as you want to run it, and that you can look as if how you want it to look. And
Yep.
that's one of the things that I enjoy about it. So yeah, we've had a great experience. We're looking to grow our team, and we hope that we have added value and that some education and every once we like to have fun. We're real people, and we're in business to make money, but it doesn't mean that it just has to be, old fogey stogie boring. We like to have fun and give real life experiences, and we just enjoy what we do. We're passionate about
Absolutely.
what we do, and we would like to include you. If you see value and would like to join our team, our contact information is in the chat. Please reach out to Sharon or I, and we'll be glad to help you become a part of uh, the Atlanta Legacy Team
Team
Limitless team.
Limitless. Yes. Yes. And I will add our contact information to the Facebook description as well.
Sounds
So
good.
I think that's it for tonight.
It was
Like Donell said, hopefully we've given you some good information tonight, a few laughs, and we will be here again next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for episode 11 of Realtor Life with Donell and Sharon.
Thank you for joining. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Have a good evening.
Good night.